All right. Whoops, I forgot the lighting. Lighting is very important in photography. So I'm going live here, folks. It's great to be here today. It's a beautiful day here in Kingsport. It's a very pleasant 62 degrees with a high of 64. So we have 2 more degrees to hit the predicted high today. Okay, so while I'm waiting for some folks to come in here and ask a few questions, I'd like to make a few comments. First, I would like to thank a neighbor who was an early supporter of this program and gave encouragement, but is not able to attend right now because of scheduling issues. I'd also like to welcome Marks as our new co-host. I see there's already somebody out there. Well, come on in, introduce yourself in the chat window. We're going to talk about Linux today and computers and all kinds of things related to Linux. There we go. Hello, Hawkeye. It's great to have you back today. I'd also like to thank the people on Internet Relay Chat who have given me encouragement for this program, as well as posting some of my personal poetry on the YouTube channel. And also, it looks like the Sunday Night Live posting is gaining some traction, as quite a few people have come by to watch it on the replay. So it looks like that was a success after all. So Hawkeye, how are you doing? How is the weather where you're at today? And I hope the audio is good. Oh, there's the cat. The cat is outside. I just heard the little meow. The cat was sick and went to the vet yesterday. So Hawkeye, what's going on out your way? Hey, I see we have a couple other people. Come on in, make yourself at home. Introduce yourself in the chat window. We're going to rock today. It's all good. Let's see about that kitty. That sweet little kitty. Kitty went to the vet yesterday to have a few things done. Cat was under the weather. Do you know Python? Very little. I know Python well enough to I wrote a script to predict lottery numbers. And actually, what we can do here on the program, if you stick around, I'll run that Python script here and people can watch it. How about that? Okay. I wrote one for Powerball, a Powerball prediction in Python there, using some array stuff. Now, Kitty, are you going to behave? This is showtime here. Okay. Okay. Well, I wonder where Marks is. I wanted to introduce Marks as our new co-host, but I guess he's tied up with something. Hey, there he is. Okay, so you show up as, okay, well, I wanted to introduce you as our co-host for today. It's great. We have a couple more folks out there. Come on in, introduce yourself in the chat window. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today regarding Linux. Well, I wish I could help you on that one there, Hawkeye, but I have never tried to convert a Python script into an executable, because you really don't need to do that. You just type in the command Python and then run the run whatever Python script you need to run. You could create like a bash script with those commands in it. You could do that. So anyway, everybody has personal health issues, including the cat. So I'm not going to get into mine onto YouTube, except to say that today would be a terrible day to be on a nonstop flight from Kingsport, Tennessee to Dallas, Texas. I don't think I'd want to experience that. Hey, let me look up this script here real quick. I haven't used it in ages because I kind of gave up on the Powerball thing. But let me look up this script if I can find it. Okay, Kitty wants to go back out. Okay, Kitty goes back outside. There he goes. Boop. Okay. So what else is going on, Hawkeye? I'm looking for my scripts here. Give me some time because I have so much on this computer. Finding things can be a challenge. Okay, it's going to be under, instead of Linux Mint, it's going to be under Linux in general. Okay, here it is, lottery script. See, I knew it was there somewhere. Okay. Okay. Let me give it a shot. Okay. In this case, I think I need to type. Yeah, I need to type Python 3 lottery.py. Okay, so I can do Powerball or Mega Millions. Isn't that cool? Okay, and then I can go Mega Millions. Okay, let me show you all this script here real quick. And quit. This will be cool. I'm going to show you all the script. We're going to have fun on this program together. Okay. Let's see. We're going to have fun together. So I'm going to type, actually, I don't have to retype it. I'm just going to type here, Python 3 lottery.py. So here I've got one that predicts some Powerball numbers. Man, that script ran instantly. Okay, and then how about Mega Millions? You need some Mega Million numbers? Yeah. And then we just do Q for quit. Yeah. So that's a Python script I wrote. I don't really write many Python scripts. Let's see here. I've got another one called Lottery. It could be the Tennessee Lottery. Let's see if I can type. I've got a bash script here. Oh, I have to do that. I forgot. Oh, it just kicked out some numbers there. Just like that. And then there's one called Bet. I don't know what that one is about. I gotta have the. Okay. I think that's one that I had downloaded as an example. Okay, but the two big ones there are the Python. The Powerball is the big one there. And I think that uses some array. We can take a look at it. Lottery.py. Yeah, that was a pretty simple one. Okay. So we're back to the big screen here. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in Linux with the end of life support for Windows 10. There's renewed interest in Linux. Several influencers on YouTube have gone all in on Linux. But Linux, is not perfect. Nothing is in this world. And so, as I discussed on Sunday night, people don't buy a cell phone and install the operating system. You don't buy a laptop and install the operating system. You don't buy a desktop PC and install the operating system. Okay. But so people who have never installed an operating system before, and I'm going to show people this page once again in the spirit of sharing here on the program. I'll go ahead and share this. So, Hawkeye, what else is going on? Do you have any other questions there? Okay, let me bring this up. So we'll go over here to Distro Watch, and I keep referring to Distro Watch because Distro Watch is a very rich resource. But over here, way over here, is something called the Beginner's Guide. And see, you never know who's going to be watching this on the replay. So that's why we always want to show this almost every time. And here you can see all the distros. You see a little screenshot. You can see how alluring it is to you. Okay, all the major. How about that? Fun OS, Peppermint. I mean, it's just. And here are like the top 100 distros list. Okay, but there are more. There are more than 100. Okay, so over here is something called the Beginner's Guide, and what this does is it helps you. What is an operating system? What is Linux? What is a distro? What does distro do? What is open source? Why? How do I? And see, that's the thing. A lot of people who've never installed an operating system, they don't understand terms that we take for granted, like a distro. What's a partition? Okay, what is a dual boot? Okay, I mean, you go into Best Buy and you walk into the computer section and you just walk by a random customer and ask, do you know what a dual boot is? And people are going to look at you and think, well, maybe that's a pair of boots. Okay. There's so many terms it's called nomenclature. It's like anything you do in life, any kind of hobby. Let's put it this way. If your car breaks, most people take it to get repaired. Very few people these days are going to lift the hood of their car and get their hands dirty, okay, and repair their own vehicle. Okay, let's go ahead and stop sharing. I kind of want to use that as an analogy to the whole computer paradigm, and that people are not going to, the average user is not going to bring a laptop home and suddenly install an operating system when it already has one on it. I mean, it doesn't make any sense, right? So Marks, what do you think about that? Am I just talking too much here? Was this thing even working? I show that I've got some audio. Did the audio cut out again there, Marks? Okay, great. All right, it should sound good. I double checked it before it started. Well, right. And this is how I'm trying to help beginners understand that you have to learn. You have to do a little learning. if you want to get into Linux. So, you know, there's a saying, nothing in life is free. And even though Linux is free, you still have to make an investment to download the Linux that you want, to have a USB drive, okay, and to understand how to load the software on the USB drive that you're going to put the ISO, which is the big single file that you download off the internet. You need to put that on that USB drive. And, you know, we talk about Ventoy a lot on this program. And if you look down in the description here, in today's description of the YouTube Live, you'll see that links are provided for a lot of the things that are mentioned here on the program. So we're not going to sit here and mention something and not tell you how to find it. The directions are going to be there. And the thing about Ventoy is if you have Windows already on your computer, you can download it and install it. They have a Windows version and it puts it on there, and then you can get the ISO. You can download that through just a web browser and put that on. But then you need to know how to access the BIOS on your computer system and turn off things. You need to turn off secure boot. Okay, so tell us about Etsy profile and Etsy profile.d. Yeah, what did you learn about that? Okay. Well, the cat must not have been hungry because Kitty did not stick around, because I'm looking here on my Linux system. There is no Etsy profile on this system here. Yes, there is. And there's a profile D. I just didn't see it. Okay. So what did you learn about those two? We have plenty of time. You can just type it in the chat window there. I'm going to take a look at it myself. I don't even remember looking at it, to be honest. Okay, the ones I'm looking at here look like they were set by the distribution in profile.d. Those items look like they were preset. Okay, and that I never set them myself personally, like when the operating system was installed. Okay. Yeah, you installed something, and you had to install Python 3.pip, I believe. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, I need to raise my authority level here so I can look at that other directory. Oh, well, just go to super user level. Eliminates all the problems. Okay. Oh, it's a file here. Okay. Okay. I've never done that, never used that, but that's a good idea. Okay, so you added to the user local binary instead of home.local binary, right, for all users instead of a particular login. Okay. Yeah, let me go back to that. Let me exit my authority here. Okay, so that's why this is set by the people who package this distribution. They've got some things here that they want to run, like bash completion, flatpak .shell, gawk.csh, gawk.shell, imconfig, Wayland, and then they've got a couple terminals, VTE 291. Okay. Yeah, so those have been probably running all these years and I never knew it because I never looked in this. I never looked in this directory. Yeah. Good job there, Marks. I don't have the system D extra, shell extra like you do, but see, I'm on regular Mint 22, and you're probably on Linux Mint Debian Edition 7. That's great. I'd like to welcome anybody else. Whoops, I spiked it. Okay, man, that is a great question. That is a beautiful question there. Let's address Vanilla UA as a question there. Hello, do you know about the best alternative of Adobe Acrobat for Linux? Well, guess what? Now, when you ask that question, you want to create a document, or do you want to edit an existing Adobe PDF file? Okay, because if you want to create a PDF, like say I do desktop publishing and documentation, and sometimes I want to push that out to a PDF, and I use LibreOffice, for example, and it works beautifully. But here's kind of the problem with the PDF. When you want to edit those, that's really tricky because the PDF is a proprietary format, and the problem is once the elements of the PDF file are compressed, even with Adobe's distiller, it's still hard to work with those. Now you can open a PDF in LibreOffice and do some rudimentary editing. But the problem is, if you want to, well, LibreOffice should be able to open it. Also, LibreOffice Draw. Let me type that in. Should be able to just a second. That also should be able to open a PDF for you. Here's the situation. Is it because a PDF file, once it's created, it's a proprietary file format, and the problem is is that you have to pay an Adobe license to be able to edit it, to really be able to edit it. So you're going to find all these editors out there in Linux, but you're going to have to pay a fee to really do what you need to do once the file is written. Yeah. Let me bring up an example here of something I do every week. Okay. And show you. Every week I write this PDF file and I do it inside. I understand you want to edit it, you know, and you can do it in LibreOffice Draw. Will give you rudimentary editing capabilities right out of the box. Let me share this screen here just quickly. Yeah. Whoops, wrong one. Nope, that's not it either. Here we go. Yeah, see, I write this file out every single week to transmit to the radio station on a through a server for the radio program that I produce. Okay, we have some other. Yeah, so you should be able to use LibreOffice Draw to open that PDF file. Okay, we have some other folks out here. Do you have any other questions? Stick around with the program. Stick around with us. Tell us a little bit. Where are you at? And we have a few other concurrent viewers. Come on in, make yourself at home, introduce yourself in the chat window. And let's have a great time together here talking about Linux. Yeah, so, hey, great to have you back. Great, return. Yeah. So how are you doing today? Great to have you back with us. You have a very distinctive personal profile picture. Yeah. So the original purpose of this program was to talk about Linux in regard to audio and video production. But then it kind of morphed into maybe some talk for beginners. Okay, your personal logo. Well, you can see mine there. I don't mess around. As a matter of fact, what I'm doing is I'm moving that personal logo that I use almost everywhere. I've rolled it out on Discord, and I'm going to roll it out here on I'm going to roll it out here on GitHub and some other places that I hang out. I'm going to have a common personal profile picture everywhere. So does anybody in here chat on Discord? Let's hear it for Discord. Discord is a lot of fun. You know, there's a lot of young people on Discord, but there's some older, experienced people. You know, it depends on where you hang out on Discord. If you hang out on gaming and you hang out on these social sites, it's going to mainly be teenagers. But if you hang out in photography and filmmaking and sites like that, you're going to have people in the 30s and 40s and 50s. And then if you hang out on some of the Linux sites, you're going to have a mixture of very young people and then some very old people. And let me just show you all what I do here. While we're waiting some more folks to come in, I'll share my Discord. I use a dedicated Discord application here. Okay, I got a message about the drive-in theater from the cinema folks. So let's see here. I'm on Element for Linux Mint here, for example. This is a desktop client. Okay. So I'm in the community, Linux Mint development, Linux Mint art. Okay. So I'm just going to show you some of my desktop clients here that keep me busy. I'm looking for the one here here's Mattermost, and this is the one for Pop OS. Okay. And you can see there's quite a bit of activity there. Okay. And let's see here. I'm looking for the Discord one, but it's hiding from me. So let me just do the entire screen. Oops, that's not quite what I wanted. Oopsie-doo. Let's get out of that. Sorry, folks. Didn't mean to make anybody dizzy there. Okay. Well, what I'm not finding here is the way to get out of here. Okay, I thought, there it is. It finally showed up. Where is the Discord desktop client? So there's a great Linux Mint community on Discord. That's why I wanted to show it to everybody. I'm looking here, live streaming Mattermost, and well, we'll try this one more time. Okay, can you all see the Discord? Yeah, so Linux Mint is well represented. Oh man, there's a lot of stuff going on. I tell you, on oh, that's a very good tutorial there. That's really important. If you're into audio video and you want DaVinci Resolve installed, how about that? Okay, lots of good stuff there. If you can get through the emojis and the animated GIFs to get to the meat, and then here you have all the different support groups. Okay, and then you've got creators and things like that. And then here's Debian. Here's photography and filmmaking, sound design, experimental music, more photography, movies and filmmaking. And then there's a bunch of voice chat rooms. Okay. And then here's Pop OS, which is a desktop environment that I'm spending time experimenting with. Okay. Let me go ahead and stop there. Did that work okay? Did that work all right there, Marks? When I was showing off the Discord client? Great, great. That's good news. Yeah, so that's a good resource. And I'm sure they have Python is represented in there, and many other interests that you have in computing are on Discord. And there's a lot of young, bright people who are working in there. So you might find some interesting things in the Python group. Because internet relay chat isn't what it used to be. And nowadays what I like about Discord is you can move to a laptop, you can look at it in a browser, it remembers where you were, and it's a fantastic tool for computer people. That's why I highly recommend it. especially if you're new to Linux and you want to talk with other beginners and just learn a few things, is not a bad place to start. Yeah. So any other questions there? In the background. Well, it's a craft. It's crafted out of sticks and feathers, and I think those eyes are made out of plastic. My sister and I saw that in a storefront window here in downtown Kingsport, and she bought it for me as a Christmas present. Okay, and sitting in front of that owl, that brown object is standing up on its end. That's a fossil. That's a fossil bone that I found in Texas in the Brazos River. But yeah, that's what's called an arts and crafts owl. Yeah. Okay. Hey, we had a couple more people drop in. Come on, introduce yourself here in the chat window and ask some questions, or let's just talk about Linux or computers in general today. Okay, that's a tray that I got at the Hershey Hotel. Okay, the Hershey Company has their main hotel in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and it's called the Hershey Resort. And decades ago, they built their very first hotel outside of Hershey, Pennsylvania in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I saw that in a gift shop, in their gift shop, and I had to have it. Just had to have that. And I've had that thing since I was a teenager. All these years, wherever I move to, I bring it with me. And then to the right of that, that dark brown bottle, that's a medicine bottle that's 70 or 80 years old. And I found that in the Buffalo Bayou. And I think it's really cool because that bottle was patented. It's got some patent number on it, the year it was patented, some medicine bottle that had been in that bayou for 60, 70 years. Okay. And those other cups you see are from companies that I've worked at, except for the NASA cup. All those other cups are places that I've worked at. Now, the story about the NASA cup is I bought that years ago when they had a really cool gift shop at NASA, and then they outsourced all of that. And you can't even find those on eBay. That is a beautiful blue glass NASA cup. They've got ceramic ones, okay, that are blue ceramic, but not that blue glass. Okay, well, we have a couple other people who joined in. Come on in, ask a drop. Put your name here, introduce yourself, tell us how you're doing today, what's going on in your world. Oh, okay. Tell me, what distro are you on about the text editor? Okay, okay, let me find it here. It's called Gnode. Yeah. Gnode is the simplest. Yeah, just use Gnode. Because even though the wonderful folks at System 76 have their own text editor for Cosmic, I also installed Gnode. Okay, I installed Gnode. Matter of fact, here we can take a look at that. Let's look at a script here real quick. I don't want to turn people off by spending too much time on this script, okay? Yeah, let's take a look at this script here. Okay, I'm in Pop! OS. This is a script I run after I do the initial install. And it's called gedit. My apologies for that. Yeah, gedit. That's what I was talking about. Okay. So I installed gedit, and then ghex is a hex editor. You never know when you're going to have to take a real good peek into a binary file, and you're going to need a hex editor is ghex. Yeah, gedit. That's the one I was thinking of. Okay. And see, because Linux Mint has such a good one, I can't flip over here to that other tab because this window is locked. Okay. So let's see if I can get out of here without causing everything to there it is, stop sharing. Yeah, see, once you've shared a window, a particular window, for security reasons, you can't flip to the other tab. Okay. So see, I could show you the same thing here, but I have to pop over to that tab over here for Linux Mint. Okay, yeah, see, I'm in the one for Linux Mint. And see, because Linux Mint has such a great text editor by default, I don't need to install it here in Linux Mint. Okay. All right. So what I do is I have this giant script because sometimes I install 3 or 4 operating systems per day on the test computer. I'm not going to sit here and select all of these programs from the software manager, and I'm not going to sit there and type all of this into the terminal window either. These are all installed with a beautiful command here. That is a beautiful command that most people don't know about. Yes, as a matter of fact, in a couple of weeks, I'm gonna have the Pop! OS desktop on this computer, and I will show people a Cosmic. Yeah, Xed, but that's the one that comes by default loaded. Let me go ahead and close this window here because I don't want people to come in and think that we're going to look at this giant script all day. Hey, I see we have 8 concurrent viewers. Come on in, introduce yourself here in the chat window, and let's talk for a little bit about Linux. Okay, I want to make sure I'm answering everybody's question. Okay, so we got you there on gedit, xed. Yes, I plan to have a program from Pop! OS. I want to give it a few more weeks of stability before I jump right into it. But we're actually going to show you the desktop, and you're going to be impressed with what Cosmic can do. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so the question come up, what is the hype about Pop! OS? Okay, well, here's what happened. System 76, they sell desktops and laptops, okay, and they were using a modified version of GNOME, okay, as their operating, as their distro that they install on their computers. And what they do is System 76 uses a customized kernel with some extra bits to support their hardware, okay? And then the same thing with the NVIDIA driver. They generally try to get the latest one that they can and push it in there, all right? So what happened is System 76 wanted to make some changes with GNOME so they didn't have to keep piling in the what's called add-ons, okay, to make GNOME look and feel the way they wanted it and to do the things they wanted it to do, okay? The extensions, excuse me, My mistake. It's not add-ons, it's extensions. So System 76 was using GNOME with these extensions, okay? So they got into a dispute with the GNOME developers. And so System 76 said, you know what? We're just going to write our own desktop from scratch. Okay. And that's what they've been doing for the last 2 years. And it's really come a long way. All right. And I'm involved in that project. I've got a couple GitHub entries right now sitting out there for Cosmic, because Cosmic is incredibly fast, and you usually get a recent kernel to support your hardware without having to do a thing. It just comes, it just comes that way. You're going to get it. Okay. So we have a question from a new person here. Not a wild thingy. Hey, first time finding your stream. This is cool. I've been a daily driver Linux user for years. Okay, Ubuntu LTS, but I've dabbled a little bit around. That's great. That's great. So it's, let me just type this in the window here. System 76. Cosmic. And that's an abbreviation for something. I tell you what, let's go to their website. How about that? Just go to their website real quick. Let's just take a look. All right. And they've got a site here on Discord as well. Okay. But I want to go to their website. Okay. Do you think I've got enough stuff going on? Gee whiz. Okay. So Pop! OS is what they currently, that's their stable shipping one. All right. So this is the one that uses GNOME. Okay, it's just called Pop! OS. Okay. But then here, they've got the beta. I want to go to Cosmic. So here's the beta. And I guess with the Cosmic desktop, view the features. Yeah, so they've got your theming, organization, a new. Well, I didn't expect to see that. I'd like to point something out here. See how everything is at the bottom? See there? There's nothing here. There's no status bar. You can configure it when you first install it, whether you want everything at the bottom or whether you want it at the top and the bottom like GNOME. It's configurable. You can change it around, and that to me is really cool. You're not stuck with a certain interface. All right, that to me means a lot. This is going to really take off. So you can find out, just go to the website here. System 76, and you can find out everything you need to know. They have a really nice looking website, don't they? You know, looks matter. They do. Whether you're making a movie or whether you're making software. And that's what I tell some of these older Linux people. They don't seem to understand that looks matter. That if you want people to get excited about Linux, you've got to have a compelling competitor to Windows and the Mac. You can't just roll out that dirty old GNOME and expect people to get excited about that. Okay, you've got to have something that gets people's attention, because that's what it's about in today's economy. It's the attention economy, getting people's attention. And GNOME just won't do that. And well, the other thing too is the speed. Cosmic is incredibly fast because, see, it's being completely written from scratch. It's not like 20 or 15-year-old code that's been patched 100,000 times. It's being completely rewritten in Rust, which is a C-like language. So it's being written in a very fast execution, instead of like a lot of the modern desktops are a combination of JavaScript, Python, C, and some other languages that are all mingled together like a ball of string, a giant ball of string. Okay, now Deepin. You know, somebody asked me in a chat, what is it going to take for the Linux desktop to take off? And I said, you know what? I said, it needs to look like Deepin. Okay. Right. Deepin, as a matter of fact, China has hundreds of thousands, probably millions of computer science students who help write. They even wrote their own, here in the Western, Linux is a worldwide thing, but a lot of the development for Linux goes on in Europe. Okay. And we've been playing with Wayland for 10 years. Okay. Well, so here we've got a choice between X11 and Wayland. Well, the folks at Deepin, they wrote their own Windows compositor, and I forget what the name of it is. Okay. So, and the cool thing about Deepin is you can choose between 6 different desktop interfaces with just one mouse click. It's not hidden behind. That's the problem with KDE. Okay, I'm not going to talk about KDE today, but absolutely. And I can't wait to get Cosmic loaded on my laptop and take it to a coffee shop, and people will walk by and say, "What's that? What are you doing? That didn't look like Windows." I said, "No, it's not Windows." And it's the old show and tell, like we used to do in school. Show me and tell me what you got there. Yeah. So how about that thought for the day? Hey, I see we have a couple more concurrent viewers. Come on in, introduce yourself here in the chat window, and let's talk about Linux. So any other thoughts? We have quite a group here today. There you go. Good for you. Now I just have a plain, it's a very nice looking, what it is, it's one of these laptops you can fold into a tablet. Advocacy. Well, the best way to advocate for Linux is you. So I can take that really cool. Hello there, Matt. Great to have you with us today. Thank you for stopping by. So how are you doing? Okay, so I do all my video production in Shotcut. Yeah, every frame is done in Shotcut. Yeah, let me type that in. Hey, great Andreas Biro 6604. Thank you for joining today. Come on in and tell us where you're at. How's the weather out your way today? And if you have a question, just come on in. It's great to have all the turnout today. Wow, it's wonderful. So let me give you some more info on that, not a wild thingy, on video production. The reason I use Shotcut is because I don't do color correction. I do what's called in-camera color correction. And my philosophy on filmmaking is if the correction doesn't happen in the camera, it's not going to happen. And you're welcome to go to my YouTube channel and take a look at the films that I've produced. Oh, that is great. You're from Hungary. See, we get a lot of people from Europe at this time. Okay. And I use Krita for graphics. I may have KDE and Live installed on my system and just don't use it. I'm looking down the list here. No, I don't have KDE installed. But, that's an excellent one. Using KDE and Live is an excellent choice. But like I said, I use Shotcut because it's a little bit of a easier to use. There's less of a learning curve. And then like I said, I'm not gonna do color correction. Okay, well, thank you for that answer there, Enio. So we have another question here from Matt about LUTS. So I'm going to let our co-host here, J Mark Cox, answer that question. LUTS. Yeah, so what's the deal about that, Marks? Don't know. I don't either. I've never messed with it. And that's the great thing about this is we can learn from each other. And we have a promise here. If we can't give you an answer right now, live, we'll have an answer for you next week. LUTS. So does anybody here know what that acronym stands for? I've never fiddled with it. All of the silence is deafening. Come on, somebody has to know what that means. Oh, color correction. Okay. All right. Well, like I said, if the color correction doesn't happen, I do it in camera. Here, let me show you some pictures I recently took. It's a metric. Well, thank you. Not a wild thingy. Thank you for that. It's a metric. Okay, and I do use Darktable. Okay. Let me do this. Let me share some recent pictures that I took here. I don't see it. Let's see, it's IMNG. I think what the problem is, I think there's a limit as to how many items will show up on there's a limit as to how many will show up here on the drop-down menu for Windows. So let me start closing a few, and maybe that will help me. Okay, and to do this. Okay, so here's some pictures I took with my new Canon XA70 camera. And one of my hobbies is I like to restore and beautify HP computers. And this is just one of the 3 that I have. The other 2 are boxed away. There's just not room to display all these computers, but these are some pictures I took of this beautiful computer, which has been brought back to mint condition. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? I hope that showed up okay. Yeah. Okay. Did that show up all right? I hope it showed up okay. Well, thank you very much. Yeah. And that's the thing. We can talk about hobbies here, and a lot of my hobbies are technical oriented. And like I said, that's one of the 3 what I call museum quality computers I have. I've got a computer that HP made with XP on it. And the thing is, XP at the time didn't support HDMI and full HD. And I have special drivers on that computer, not the one that I showed you, but the museum piece that's packed away. It came in, it all has the original box and everything. And so I have XP installed. That computer I just showed you in the pictures, there's no OS installed on that one at all. And then I've got another one with Linux Mint on it. It's another beautiful HP Pavilion. Yeah, I used to love those HP Pavilion computers, the Slimline. Yeah, Slimline. You type that out. Yeah, so I have a couple of those in the collection. Okay. Hey, I see we have some other folks here dropping in. Come on in. Put your name here in the chat window and introduce yourself. And Matt, I appreciate your help there with what LUTs was, because LUTs rhymes with klutz. And I was a klutz on that one. Yeah, because the thing is that I just don't do color correction. Oh, okay. Actually, yes, to answer your question, not a wild thingy. One of the HP Pavilions has an i7 4770 processor in it, even though it came originally with a Core Duo. So it's been significantly upgraded. One of the 3 is a sleeper. Yeah, a sleeper PC, and it's beautiful. Yeah, and it has Linux Mint installed on it and everything, and it's got an NVIDIA card in there, a low profile NVIDIA card. It's souped up. It's a little hot rod for sure. It's got a terabyte SSD. Now that big one that I showed you, the HP Envy, it's got an NVMe drive, a 512 gigabyte, and then it has a 1 terabyte SATA, SATA SSD in there. So that, and it also has an NVIDIA graphics card to play games. So that Envy, it can rock too. It sure can. As a matter of fact, it was a pop testing computer. It's been used to test other distros, Linux distros on. It's got a beautiful BIOS. Okay, so we had another person come on in. Put your name here in the chat window, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, what's going on in your world today. Because we can talk about anything that this show is driven by the questions. We can talk about anything that you want to talk about, except religion and politics. There's plenty of other places to talk about that. We don't need to talk about that today. Yeah. And Matt, thank you so much for helping us out there with that question. Because I'd always seen that term and wondered, what does that mean? But since I don't do color correction, you know what's interesting is I have done color correction in the past on this Kodak Digital Science camera, because sometimes it would get the blue shift and the red shift in there, and I use this program called PINTA for color correction, and it always seemed to work with just one button. As a matter of fact, I have some prints that I have used, that I have made, that have been color corrected with Penta. You know, some 8x10 prints that I made off that Kodak Digital Science camera. Okay, so sports counts as religion. Thank you so much for that. Welcome. I want to just, I'm trying to say, welcome there. I don't know how to pronounce your chat name there, anathema animus. But yeah, sports. What sports are you into? Okay, so the question came up while we're listening, while I'm waiting to hear back about sports counts as a religion. What sports are you into? And then I'm going to answer the question here is, what are your thoughts on Wayland? Should X11 still be patched into infinity? Okay, the thing is, it's like everything in this world. There's always going to be a need for X11, and you're always going to have some distros that are going to support X11 probably for another decade. One of them here is this one. Okay, they're always going to have an X11 version. Okay, X11 is no longer being developed, but what happened was some people went ahead and okay, and here I'm in Tennessee, so you know everybody here is big with the Vols, right? And Vols versus Alabama. Yeah, that's a big thing here. You're either with Alabama or you're for the Vols calls. Yeah. Okay, so back to the X11. You're always going to have a few distros who are going to support it for another 10 years. And the thing is, X11 has been forked. Okay, the X11 developer said, we're not going to develop X11 any longer. So what some people did is they forked it. Okay, and they're going to continue to work on it. Okay, Wayland is still a work in progress. Let me just say that. Okay. Wayland has been under development for 10 years, and the problem is that you've got several desktops, GNOME and KDE, who are on Wayland. But the problem is there will be some upstream changes in Wayland, either improvements, especially when it comes to being able to help people with accessibility features on their computers. Wayland is still incomplete. So you've got to push-pull between the distros who've already adopted and rewritten their desktop for Wayland, and then you've got the Wayland upstream changes and fixes. Those can be out of sync with each other for 6, 8 months, 10 months. See, the long-term distros, they're not going to make any changes based on Wayland. They're going to lock it in place for 2 years. So some distros that are what's called rolling releases, they might pick up the Wayland changes overnight. But some distros might take 2 years to catch up with the changes, because at the time Wayland was rolled out, it's still a moving target. So my take on that is that's what I like about Cosmic, is Cosmic is being completely rewritten from the bottom up to be a Wayland only, no X11, Wayland only. But Cosmic will roll out the changes almost immediately, whereas some of these other ones, you're going to have to get on a rolling release on KDE in order to get the latest Wayland changes and improvements. Does that make any sense? So that's what I'm doing in the other room. The other room is a testing computer. This is a video editing computer for daily. I have to stay on X11. I can't play around on this one. I have to have a long-term release running here on this computer, because last thing I need is for something to get broken that I rely on every day. So this is X11. The other room is Wayland with Cosmic. Okay, so do we have any other questions out there? And thank you so much for the thumbs up and for stopping by today. I hope you are having a wonderful day. Exactly. Exactly, Andreas. Right. Because there are still some changes being made upstream. Right. And that's my philosophy. I'm using Linux Mint 22.0 for video editing. And then the computer in the other room is just like this one. It's a carbon copy of this one, but I have Linux Mint 22 on one NVMe, and then I've got System 76 Cosmic on the other NVMe, and I can boot to either one. Okay. Because see, my problem with Wayland is remote desktop. Sometimes I like to be able to access all three of the other computers on my network. I like to be able to access that from this computer, especially when I'm pushing out changes to all three other computers. I absolutely have to have remote desktop. And that's kind of an issue right now with some of it. Yeah. Okay, Ardour, this is still built on X11. And see, that's why, for the purpose for editing, okay, I can show you that. I use something here, and it doesn't matter if I show you the IPs, because this is all private IPs anyway. This is what I use. And as you can see, I have quite a few other computers I need to access remotely. And this is what I use. Okay. Now on the server side, I use something called X11 VNC. Yeah, that's what's on the other computers. This is the client. The other four are the server side. They've got X11 VNC installed. And it's lightning fast. It's very fast. What I love about X11 VNC is I load that as a systemd service. So you can reboot the computer and log right back in. As long as the computer is powered up, you can log in. It's really cool. Yeah, I install X11 as a X11 VNC as a systemd service. So when the computer boots up, it loads it. Yeah. Well, we've touched on some great topics here today. Let's keep this ball rolling just a little bit longer. We've been on here for 1 hour and 14 minutes. We can go on for a few more. Any other interesting questions? Yeah, so not a wild thingy. That's why for right now, I'm experimenting with Cosm, but I do all my daily work because, see, I do have Ardour on my system here. I don't use it that often, but it's there if I need it. I just can't take a chance that I can't take a chance on any of these. So all this is a strictly X11 workstation, just for the reason you mentioned. Everything here has to run and without any crashes or problems. Okay, so do we have any other questions out there? How's the weather today? Well, Matt, you bring up a very interesting question. I have no experience with NIX. I do have experience, though, with something here. You ready for this? I have experience with that. And doing LAN boot installs with HPUX, which is Unix. And that's what made the transition to Linux so easy for me, because HPUX and Linux have a very familiar file system and installation process. What's interesting is you can do a LAN boot install with Linux. Very few people do it, but you can do it. You can do a network install with Linux. As a matter of fact, Debian has a specific distro that supports that. It's called a network install. So I see we had another person here join us. Hey, come on in. It's friendly here. Put your name in the chat window, introduce yourself, and you can ask any question you want about Linux. This is a judgment-free zone here. It's whatever you want. Oh, and I'll tell you, the whole thing about Unix is managing drives and drive arrays, mass storage arrays, and peripherals. Boy, that can be some tricky stuff, because that's all done through the command line, all of it. And all it takes is one little mistake, and you've ruined a whole day's work. Yeah. Configuring MSAs through the command line in Linux. Yeah. That's actually how I learned how to script in Linux, is from the scripting in HPUX. It's very similar. Matter of fact, I still have some of those scripts today. I kept them. I kept all that work I did. Okay, I'm reading here. Oh, I think we had talked before about your son's games, because my son had some of his games on it. It's 11th Gen i7. That's a potent processor, and GTX 1070. That'll play mid-level games. It'll play A titles at 1080p 1920. A titles, not AAA, just A's at full HD. Okay, so you're saying that you've got a desktop and your son has some of his games installed on it, like he comes in to play some of those games when you're not using the desktop. Is that what you're saying? Oh, now you mentioned something. Yeah, see, if you don't want to wipe his games, you're going to be better off at first doing a dual boot. If I can type. And also make sure that all those games are backed up too. Yeah, first I would do some research and find out all the games that he has on the computer, the game name and the version, and then do lookups like with the Proton database, DB, and see which ones it can be played through Linux and Proton. Okay. See what's compatible first. It's called doing your homework. And I would do that first, get a list of the games and the versions and see which ones you can play through Proton. There's another situation called Wine. Wine also has a database, but see, there's a front end you install for Wine called Wine Tricks. And I played games through Wine Tricks. Okay. Okay. Well, it depends on what you want to do on that computer. You can always go with Linux Mint, and then you can install Wine and Wine Tricks front end. That's what Wine Tricks is it's a configurator for Wine. Okay. And also, there are many excellent websites. You can just type in your web browser, Linux Mint, Proton, and the game, and it can give you information. Okay, so Matt, when you mentioned Fortnite, Call of Duty, Battlefield, which one of those are you playing, and on what platform? Are you doing it through Proton, or are you doing it? Bazite is the big new thing, and I've actually downloaded it. I haven't tried it on the other computer right now. Okay, none of them will work. Okay. Well, Bazite is an interesting distro. It can actually be confusing or demanding when you're going through to download the correct version for your computer, because it puts you through a lot of questions and answers. Okay. Let me just show you here real quick. Yeah, when you go to this site here, wondering if your favorite games are compatible, check the community maintained lists. Okay. And then want to protect your games and your ability to play them. So when you go down and get ready to download the ISO that you need, it's going to ask you about 10 different questions. It's going to ask you what desktop you want to use. It's going to ask you what your graphics card is. It's going to ask you about your processor. Yeah. So when you go down, and they've got Discord, of course. So when you go down here to download it, see, here you go. Yeah, so you're going to go through this questionnaire. How about that? Yeah, this is the beginning. First, you're going to select the hardware, the graphics card. Then you can select the desktop you want, whether you want to use GNOME or KDE. Yeah, how about that? So these are the kind of things we get into here on this program. I hope that came out. Whoops. I'm trying to figure out here how to stop the screen sharing. Usually I get a prompt here that will tell me to stop what I'm doing. There it is. Okay, we're good. Yeah. Well, see, Matt, the thing is, I didn't get a chance. I've already downloaded Bazite for the workstation in the other room, but I haven't installed it yet. I just didn't have time. So I can't tell you whether it's a good workstation. It basically turn your PC into a console. I couldn't tell you about that because I haven't tried it yet. Well, the thing about Catchy, it's going to give you more of a real distro look, and probably won't change your workstation into a game console. Okay. Okay, yeah, I'm not using OBS, and I'm just streaming directly from the webcam through the software here in the YouTube studio. Well, that's the thing, is that see, for that level of hardware that you just mentioned, the 11th generation i7, you don't need the latest kernel, okay? And the NVIDIA drivers for the GTX 1070, they're going to be 580, 585, or 5, let's see, that's all going to be supported in Linux Mint. So you can start with Linux Mint and just try and see how far you can go with those games. What you really might want to do is to make sure those games are backed up and maybe try a dual boot. And just create a tiny dual boot, just start out with 150, 200 gigabyte for for Linux Mint, and just try it with some different games, see how that works. You can start there. If that doesn't work, you can try some of the other ones. Just like Not a Wild Thing, he recommends. Okay. Yeah, I believe you've been here before, and just come on back and let us know how that works for you. Well, you've got 9 concurrent watchers. I don't want to shut the stream down when we have that many people here. If some people just join, just please put your name in the chat window here, introduce yourself. We have a few more minutes to answer some questions or talk about Linux or computers in general. Yeah, just come on in. It's friendly here. It's a no judgment zone. That'd be great if some of the other viewers out there could come on in and just say hi real quick before we do close it down, because what I don't want to do is to turn this into a 3-hour thing. Yeah. Fresca is great. Okay, so any other questions or comments out there? Come on, put them in that window, in that chat window. We're all good. Okay. All right. Okay. There's a lot of young people on distro. I mean, not on distro, on Discord. The boys. Oh boy. I'll tell you, Discord is a lot of people on Discord are gaming through Linux. You can learn a lot just by getting into Discord and ask questions in there. Those people have it figured out, man. Yeah, Linux Mint has a great Discord community. If you can put up with the animated GIFs and things like that. I'm just going to show some of the new people who just joined Discord. Yeah. So here is System 76 in Discord, and you've got Off Topic, General, Cosmic. Here's Debian, okay? But Linux Mint, this thing is rocking 24 hours a day. Like I said, if you can get past that, okay, you can learn a lot. There's a lot of very intelligent people in here. Like I said, you could get through the, some people have these moments where things like that will make them dizzy or not feel good. And I really wish they wouldn't do that, because there are people who have those disabilities. But yeah, you can learn a lot. Well, let's look here. We've got gaming, technical, coding. You've got all these different support groups. So this isn't a plug for Discord or anything. I mean, I'm in here for movies and filmmaking, photography, and all kinds of other things, and then the voice chat, and lots of things going on in direct chat there. Okay, we've shown enough. No need to overshare. That's right. Yeah, I'm on Matrix as well, and I showed that earlier. The Matrix here for Linux Mint, because my browser is too busy to have all these as tabs in my browser, because the tabs would be so tiny. Okay, I prefer to run separate clients that I can have along the bottom of the screen here, so I can just click to go from one to the other. And that way I don't lose my place either. Let's see here. I was going to do a screen share of the Matrix client. So here's Mattermost. I use that client for Pop OS. That's their main one. And here's Element for Linux Mint. Yeah, there's development, and there's Linux Mint Artist. There are other channels, but those are just the ones that I'm on. Okay, so that's the desktop client. Like I said, if I loaded all these up in my browser, it would just choke it. There's just no need to do that. Yeah, and if somebody asks, yes, on all of these platforms, you need an account now to post anything. Yeah, you have to have accounts now. It's not like it used to be. Even on Internet Relay Chat now, on some of these internet chat servers, you have to have a login to be able to talk. Yeah, I think if you go in some of these rooms, you can log in without a login, but you can't write to the channel. It's read only. Okay, I think Matt had a question. You use web apps. Why I use what's called desktop clients to access these, but they can also be accessed through a web browser, but I prefer to use a dedicated desktop client, except on some computers, like when I'm in the radio room early in the morning, I just look at Discord through my web browser. Okay, but that's on a smaller screen. Well, that's right. Yeah, that's because of the age thing. And that's a big requirement now in the EU. And people are really upset about that. But I don't have an answer for that, because that's a legislative thing. And, I'm not going to Again, we promise not to talk about politics, but that's a political problem. That's not a technology problem. Yeah. Well, Discord's in a lot of trouble right now, and so is Roblox. The lawyers have Roblox in their radar right now, and that's kind of the way things are. We in the Western world, we live in a very legal lawsuit societies. Yeah. But it's not like that in some parts of the world. If something goes wrong, nobody cares. If somebody's kid commits suicide on Roblox, nobody, there's no recourse. Some countries don't have a legal system where you can recourse, where you have a legal recourse for a defective item. A wheel falls off your car, that's your problem. Some countries in this world still don't have a legal system to address things like liability and issues like that. Right, that's the word I was looking for, Marks, but I was tongue-tied at the moment. And see, that's my problem with foreign languages, is like when I'm in places like Germany and other countries, I know the language, but especially German, you have to speak from the back of your throat. I just get locked. I get brain freeze, or when I'm in front of somebody in Germany and I'm trying to speak German, I lock up. Yeah. Hey, nobody's perfect, right? We've all got things. Like I said, today is not the day I would want to be on a non-stop flight from Kingsport, Tennessee to Dallas, Texas. Yeah. Well, it's been great. I appreciate everybody being here today. It looks like we're down to about 5 people. And, we just had somebody else join. The person who just joined, we're going to close it down here shortly. Would you like to ask a question real quick or introduce yourself? Come on in. Okay, you too. And thank you so much for joining. Thank you for being here with us today. And today was a really great chat, I think. Okay, good night there. Matt, are you leaving too? It's daytime here, but okay, and not a wild thingy. I'm not sure where on the planet you are. Okay. Not a wild thingy. You don't have to tell us what country you're in. I understand some people are sensitive. Just tell me what time zone you're in. Oh, Matt, you're in California, so it's still early for you. I joke. We start at 2:30 p.m. Eastern time, and I joke that's going to be 11:30 in Pacific time, and I joke that some people in California are still asleep at that hour. And I did a special one at 6 p.m. one. No, I did a 9 p.m. one here Sunday night to try to catch people on the Pacific coast. and nobody showed up, but that was okay because I got to test that beautiful audio. I'm going to try to get that kind of audio in here as well. Yeah, I know it's true. 11:30. Some people are still in Sleepyville. I love California though, but like everywhere, it's not what it used to be. I was in California in the 80s and it was Wonderland. And I was in Europe in the 1990s and it was beautiful there. But our world has changed so much. Europe has changed. California, San Francisco used to be so beautiful and such a wonderful place to visit until the Silicon Valley. It ruined it. It ruined it. And that's the thing, is that Europe, same thing. Europe was a beautiful, peaceful place. I love Europe and the people, but a bunch of people immigrated into Europe and ruined the atmosphere of Europe. Europe is divided now. I remember when I was traveling in Europe, just to give you an idea, Europe was adopting the EU currency. Okay, and in some countries you could still buy something in the native currency and then the EU. Okay, like in Italy. Okay, they were adopting the euro. Okay, Europe has changed so much since then. Yeah. So it's not just California that gets crazier by the day. It's a lot of our planet is getting crazier by the day. Okay. And that's why I moved out of Texas here to far northeastern Tennessee, because we're not going to talk about politics, but things in Texas, just too many people moved to Texas and ruined it. The roads there are just in terrible condition. When you drive on a Texas highway, you feel like you're driving one of those devices to test the suspension in your car. Okay. When I moved here to Tennessee, the roads are like glass compared with Texas. Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm just so glad you all came by today. I see we had one person who just joined, but I'd like to go ahead and close the stream at this time, because I think we've exhausted our Linux questions and we don't want to waste people's time here talking about highways in Texas, right? Right, folks? I hope everybody has a wonderful day. And thank you so much for coming by today to visit. And we will see you next week at this same time. How about that? No matter what. If I have to do this on a laptop in a hospital bed, I will. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you. Yes, it was. Today was a good stream, and I hope on the replay that the audio held up today. Thank you so much, everyone. And from beautiful Kingsport, Tennessee, USA, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. And thank you again for joining and everyone's participation.